like, yeah. I said, okay, here you go. So we wanted to showcase our SOAR song with you. And we're gonna hopefully record it, and then that'll be our bell system moving forward for our kiddos, for all of our kiddos to learn this song who are not in drama. So, thank you.
Great job, guys. Great job.
Good job.
So we are going to take flight with Lindo Park. So I like acronyms, so FLIGHT, they mean something to us. The F is to foster a joy in learning in math. So every student at Lindo Park is focusing on developing high quality math instruction across all elementary math classrooms. We are providing rigorous and joyful and culturally relevant math instruction that develops students for the love of math and strengthening their ability to reason and problem solve. The L is we want 100% of our students to be involved in school, whether that be inside, whether that be outside the classroom. We have LP Safety Patrol, which one of our students made it to the next round. We also have LPTV News, which is our broadcasting system. We also have our student council. We have team sports. We have PE leaders. We have a PE Falcon squad. We have after-school activities, and we have tech ninjas. We have a lot that's going on in our day for our kiddos to be a part and have leadership roles in our school. Our I, and our integrating social emotional support. This is huge this year. We wanted to take on a PBIS from the ground up. We revamped our PBIS system and created a staff handbook, starting with Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 interventions. We wanted to implement our second step, which our teachers do 30 minutes once a week with our students. And then we have our Wellness Together program, where we have some counselors who see our students. My counselor, Ms. Erica Garcia, also sees students. And again, we have our PBIS team members who sit down and we look at our data and we see which students need support, and we work on what's best for all of our students. G, for this one and the next one too, are greet and welcome our families back on campus. They have been off campus for a really long time, so we wanted to, and just by the showing of our families who came tonight, shows me that they want to be here, they want to be here for their students. So we are building from the ground up. We did PTA family nights, almost 2 a month. So we have events every month. I don't know if you follow us on Facebook or Instagram, but we're always posting our events. So come by and stop by and join our events for one night. And then we have our home to school connection, which is stronger than ever at Lindo Park. We have our community members. We have Christian Brothers, and I'll show you a video with that. That came to our campus. We partner up with Pepsi in the beginning of every year to do our back to school barbecue. And then T is we take flight to higher heights with our endeavors with our Lindo Park teachers. We want to support our teachers in every way possible to ensure that they have what they need to make every student successful at Lindo Park. So here it goes. Our journey begins with fostering the love of math. As you can see here, we've been doing math transformations in our district, and our students are benefiting from such trainings. We have more academic rigor. Our students are engaged. They are having fun in math. We have put away our iPads and we are doing math hands-on learning, which is so fun. If you haven't had a chance to stop by, come by to our 4th grade class. They do math rotations, they do math rounds. It is a fun thing to watch. And I'm proud to say that we have increased in our math scores by 6% overall at our site. So that makes me very happy. Growth is growth. Our adventures at Lindo Park. So everybody knows that our attendance hasn't been so hot, and this is something that's been across the district. So what we decided as our attendance team is we sat down and we decided what were the days that we had the least amount of attendance. And as you can see on the top right-hand corner, myself and my counselor, in November, we said the day before Thanksgiving break was the day that we had the least amount of attendance. A lot of parents took their kids out, had an extra day. We said, okay, so we decided to get in tubs. It was very cold because our school starts at 7:43, and we sat in these pools, and every student who showed up got to dump water on our heads. And let me tell you, they showed up. Every kid, we had like 29 students, I believe, that were not at school that day because they wanted to soak the principal and soak the counselor. And I think after 5 minutes, we were numb and we didn't feel a thing, so it was well worth it. We also have, like I said, we added PE. At the bottom right-hand corner, you see our PE setup. We have Mr. Braun, who's been on our campus this full year with PE implementation, while my teachers get to have PLC time during the day. So I want to show you a quick video that is by Ron and Karen Cook, who have been doing a lot of videos this year for us, and just to kind of highlight one of our extracurricular activities that we have, and it's amazing.
It's really important for kids to have things that make them excited about going to school. Our PE program with Mr. Braun here at Lindell Park Elementary is definitely one of those things.
The PE program here at Lindell Park Elementary School is just an opportunity to get all the kids outside, to be active, and also just to learn how to keep their bodies healthy.
We get to do all sorts of games and activities, making it one of the best parts of the day.
So the difference we've seen in our students this year by adding PE as an element in our day is our students are motivated to come to school. We have higher attendance rate. We have the kids who are engaging in our classrooms on a daily basis. We get to have staff versus student games on Friday, so we're engaging our staff and our students to build more of a connection.
I'm able to concentrate better in my other subjects, like math and reading, because I've been able to be active, play, and have fun. You know, be a kid.
Kids come to school excited to be in their classrooms, excited to participate at PE. It just lifts up the whole atmosphere.
Thank you, Mr. Braun, for putting your heart and soul into helping us keep our bodies and minds healthy.
Mr. Braun is just one example of the amazing teachers that we have at Lindell Park who soar high on a daily basis for our students.
Welcome to Lindell Park Elementary, where falcons soar.
So I guess I'm bragging because we love PE. I know we're the only elementary school that has a PE teacher, so I am bragging. And we are really proud of the program, and he built it from scratch, from the ground up. So we are really proud of his hard work that he's been doing. I also want to share that our voyage starts with, again, integrating social emotional learning on our campus. To me, when this year I talked to my team and I said, how are we going to get our kids to be here? Not because they have to, but because they want to be here. So we decided we were going to sprinkle a little bit of our Lindell Park pride in our school bathrooms, because that's where kids go. And if it's like, of course, the classrooms, they're always decorated. They look great. The hallways, we decorated the hallways. We have posters, we have signs. But what about the bathroom when they go in there? We don't want them to write, we don't want them to draw pictures. So how do we sprinkle it? So we decided to put some sprinkling of Lindell Park pride in boys and the girls' bathroom. And it just has motivating quotes for them. It's being positive. When they come out, they go in and they come right out. So we wanted to make sure that when they come, they want to come to school because their school, they're proud of it. I also want to share that the bottom picture we have is our PBIS meeting. It's whole staff. So I have my staff, I have my classified, I have my aides in there, and we're learning about PBIS from the ground up. Again, Tier 1 and Tier 2 supports by Miss Gabby, our BCBA. She comes to our staff meetings and is able to talk to our team about some strategies that we can implement across the board for all of our students in a positive and nurturing way. Cruise on by. So here's the greeting and welcoming of families. Like I said, we have our PTA nights where families enjoy a night with their scholars and enjoy fun activities. We've had Family Bingo Night, which was a huge success. We actually had to get more tables because we didn't think as many parents were going to come, and they came and kept coming, and we ran out of tickets at the end, but it was a fun night. We had our pumpkin carving night, and this was a fun event for us, the first time we hosted this. We just recently had our math and literacy night. We had our winter extravaganza, and we're going to be having, at the end of the month, we have our Love of Reading Week, mystery readers, and lunch on the lawn with our families. So again, it's bringing that families back on campus to enjoy what school's about. I do have to share one activity that we did have. This was right before winter break. Is we had all of our first graders write an essay of how they wanted to change Lindell Park. It was fun reading. They had some pretty extravagant requests, but they all had to write an essay, and we were going to raffle off or give away 4 bikes. I do want to share with you that every student, every first grader received a bike, but this was a video, again, that the cooks had made for us.
So what we did today is we were able to go to the local school. They wrote essays, and they were in a running to win bikes. We had 4 bikes that they knew they were going to win, and then we were actually able at the end to give every single kid a bike.
Everybody gets a bike!
We are beyond excited. Today we were able to give all of our first graders a bike. Thank you to the La Mesa Rotary Club.
A bicycle could change somebody's lives. They could get out, they could explore, they could go to their friend's house, and they could just change everything.
Thank you to Christian Brothers.
So we have all our staff come on a Saturday. They come in on their day off, build the bikes in the morning alongside the Rotary.
If we could change their lives, we want to be part of it.
We are soaring high each and every day, and we are so thrilled to start our holiday season with such a great, uplifting event. So again, love experience with our families and our staff on our campus. So taking flight with our Falcons, our home to school connection. Again, like I said, we had Pepsi donate backpacks and school supplies for our back to school barbecue, where we had hot dogs and had our families come. They got to see who their teacher was. They got to meet and greet their teachers, especially our kindergartners who didn't know who they were, or students who were new to our campus. They got to meet and greet. Our staff was out there mingling, again, bringing that closeness and the togetherness of this is a welcoming environment for all of our families. In the middle picture, we have our winter extravaganza, huge, huge showing of our parents, where they got to enjoy musical and winter festivities with their child. And then finally, we did, our very first year, we did our kindergarten signing day, where we welcomed all of our newest Falcons to Lindo Park, and they had to sign a contract of what are their expectations and how we want to soar high each and every day as being a new Falcon on our campus. And parents were also invited to that event. So our journey continues, and it's going to continue as we take flight to higher heights to endeavor our Lindo Park teachers. Like I said, we support our teachers. So with this, we have PLC, we have our PE, we have our teamwork collaboration, instructional rounds. And what you see at the bottom left, if you haven't seen our data room, our collaboration room for my teachers, you need to stop by and see it. This is where we have our data of our students. And it may not look pretty, but I have to say that my teachers are diving into our student data. We have shown growth in our ELA. This year, my 3rd grade has gone sky over the little yellow dot. So I'm super proud of my teams. And we do escape rooms for my staff so they can build community within each other. This was in the beginning of the year. We also do classroom crawls where they get to go into each and every classroom and kind of see the environment, talk with their teams, and build that community within our school. So let's continue to soar high. I hope you have your passports and your boarding passes and your carry-on bags to get ready to take flights to higher heights. Please stop by Lindo Park. You won't be disappointed. Again, here's a little plug. Please follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And it's a great day to be a Falcon. Thank you. Any questions?
Any questions?
No?
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Okay. So we are going to move on to I'm going to open a public hearing to receive input on our disclosure of the collective bargaining agreement. Lisa, do we have any comment cards on the? Okay. Great. Then I'm going to have I'm going to request approval for the financial disclosure of the collective bargaining agreement. Is there a motion to approve?
I move that we approve the financial disclosure of collective bargaining agreement.
Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, that was unanimous. And then adoption is requested of a tentative agreement with California School Employees Association and Chapter 240 to resolve negotiations for the 2023-24 school year. Is there a motion?
I'll move that we adopt the requested tentative agreement of the CSEA and Chapter 240.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Excellent, okay. Moving right along here, trustee reports. Now keep in mind, trustees, that at 6:30 we have a hard out. We have to have a presentation at that time, so fire away, trustee Bennett.
Nothing for me today.
Well, we're gonna keep moving then.
I don't have much to say either, except that I was fortunate to go to the Chinese New Year event at the Lakeside Library over the weekend. And there was a huge turnout. It was a great opportunity for everybody to see the new library if they hadn't already, and learn about our language immersion programs. And all of the students, K through 5, in the Mandarin program performed, so it was a lot of fun.
Great. All right, trustee Casper.
I just have a couple of things, and these are going to be, most of these are annual, but they're going to be great family events. Bring your kids, bring your family, take your grandma, the whole thing. All these can be found on the Chamber of Commerce in our city, or our town, Lakeside. You can go in the Chamber and find all the dates. So I just wrote these down. April is the Western Days Parade, and then 3 days are the rodeo. Hope to see you there. Bulls Only pageant, see all the wonderful people, and the Queen and the younger one, Queen Junior. That's the 23rd of March. I'll be there. You can see all the pageantry and see what all children can follow if they want to go that route. It's a lot of pageantry. The Optimist Fish Fry, that's actually coming up this month, but again, that's on the Chamber. The Optimist Club of Lakeside does a lot of wonderful things, and all their money goes toward kids. So they're also the sponsor of the Bulls Only rodeo and the pageant, and that's going to be in September, the rodeo, and I will be there. And the pageant is going to be March 23rd. Touch a Truck. Now they're going to have a second one. It's coming up. You have to look at the Chamber. That's a big event. You know, big trucks and all those type of things for kids and fire department, the sheriff, and all that. And the last one is at the Equestrian Center. It's going to be the monster trucks. Hearing protection is advised, and you can purchase it there or bring it with you because it's going to be loud. That's coming up also on the 23rd, three different performances. So these are a lot of nice family things. And actually, I'm sure we have a presentation at the Western Days Parade, a booth or something. And then I know at the Touch a Truck, we have the Teacher Association usually, and hiring booth. So all those cool things are happening, and we hope to see you there. It's all about community and kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice President Hofer Moyer.
I attended the end of last month. We had celebrating 100 years of agriculture at the Grossmont Union School District, as well as celebrating 75 years of our Eastern San Diego County Junior Fair that's here that our students participate in. And that was just a really fun day where we got to hear the history over the last 100 years from the start of, we had a lot of people come that were part of the program back in the 40s and 50s that came and spoke, and it was a really nice community event that we had. And then I attended Festival of the Arts at Lindo Park this year, and it was such a good program. It was a rainy day, but performances inside, all the art, that was also very nice. I do have an update on the Wellness Committee. We met a week and a half ago, and we are working on a health fair that will be in May at Lindo Park. It'll have some interactive booths as well as a small farmer's market with presentations by Food for Thought. So we'll have that for now encompassing the whole school as well as Verona Indian Charter and Dream will also be invited to attend. So that's moving along, a lot of pieces that we're working on in it, but I think it's going to be a really good event. That's my update.
Well, I want to thank all the staff for their hard work and their grace during the rain. I I know that probably was, I know there was lots of different challenges that created, so I want to thank you for your patience on that. And I also was able to go to the FFA pancake breakfast, which was really fun. I know they raised a lot of money, and it was nice to stop by on a Saturday morning and see all the kids and, you know, serving food and all the families that came. When I got there, it was quite crowded. And I didn't think people wanted to get moving that early on a Saturday, but they were moving. So I was grateful to see that. So that's my report for this month, and I thank you all for being here. Okay. We have 4 minutes to go. Council, can we go earlier? No?
We can probably have one.
Yeah, we can have one, that's fine. Okay, we're gonna open public comment. So for our first public commenter, come on up.
Linda?
Excellent.
Well, good evening, everybody.
Good evening. And would you mind speaking into the microphone?
Okay, first off, I want to thank Christine behind me because I've been mesmerized the whole evening with her sign language. She's a wonderful asset to our school. And the reason I'm here, I have just been told last week that I am being laid off, as well as my coworkers who are all over here in this corner. And the group of us, there's only 5 of us, and already 2 of them have gone on to other jobs because our jobs have been changed to 26 hours or 19 hours down to 15 hours and a loss of benefits, which is very significant for a lot of us. And so it might be too late to change anything that's been going on, but I just want to give you really quick an input into who we are. Michelle, 15 years, myself, 21 years, Izzy right here, 10 years working in special ed. It's a passion we have. We could go to Starbucks, we could go to Walmart, we could go to In-N-Out and get better wages and benefits, but we choose to work with these children. We work with infants in the home, or at home visits when they're just learning to do tummy time, where eye contact, rolling over. It's a bond you connect with these kids and the parents. Then they come to our classroom at 18 months. They're crying, and we have to build a bond with the parents to where they reach for us instead of clinging to their parents. And my fear is what will happen to our program if we're just looking for employees that are can just take 15 hours worth of salary home to their parents. I mean their families, because as it is, if I call out sick or one of us calls out sick, it's very hard to get a sub. I will call subs, I'll call subs and say, can you fill in for me? And they're like, I need more than the hours you have, I need to pay bills. So that's my biggest fear for these children. They're infants, they're not 5, they're not the age you saw here. They're just babies, and they just need loving, supportive, patient, caring people to work with them. And my fear is like with just a 15-hour-a-week paycheck, that's not even 2 full days. You won't get a quality person in there, and that's my biggest fear. So I just wanted to thank you guys for listening. I've worked for this district a long time. I've enjoyed it. I was hoping to stay here a few more years, but I don't think 15 hours will really cut it. I can look around through other schools in the district because of my seniority, but just moving forward, you know, our classroom, maybe people need to come who make these decisions and look at the children and look at the interactions and see what we actually do and spend the whole day, like from the minute we get in to see how we prep the classroom, to see how we make it safe for these children, how we cut up the food, wash the dishes, sanitize the toys. Some people might think that's frivolous. It's not. It's to keep them safe and to watch how we help these kids. Some can't walk. Most of them can't talk. You have to build a relationship with them so you know what their triggers are, how to de-escalate them. It's a wonderful job for me. I love it, but I just hope that our program stays as well as has been with all these current changes. And thank you for listening. I was very nervous and I'm really proud of myself, but I figured if those little kids could come up and sing, I could come up and do this.
Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna pause public comment. We have to go to our mandatory public hearing on our Board of Trustees district transition to by trustee area elections. So we will have first a presentation by the district's council and demographer. Welcome back, sir.
Good evening, everyone. Nice to see you all. Let me just screen share here, and then we will be ready to get. That is my screen, but not the.
There it is.
No, but then there's not, and it's off my screen.
So you're extending your hearing.
Oh, is that what's happening?
Hit F7. That's probably for ours, not theirs.
Here we go. I think. Better, but not. Okay, thank you for your patience there. So, again, my name is Jacob Griot with Courier and Hudson, and we're counsel for the district. And just quick explanation for the people, members of the public, the statute says when we have these public hearings, we have to publish a time that they're going to be, so that's why we had a little bit of dancing around with the, doing some things out of order there, but now we are here for the 6:30 as advertised public hearing. The district is in this process of transitioning to what's called by trustee areas, and I'm going to explain that here in a second. And part of that is I'm going to give a presentation, and then our demographer team, Carolyn is here to speak on the maps, and we will answer any questions folks have. A lot of this is based on what the California Voting Rights Act, which became effective in January of 2003. It prohibits the use of what are called at-large elections, which I'll explain in a second, if there's any impairment of the ability of a protected class to elect candidates of their choice. Now, an at-large election is what the district currently has, as you all know, where all 5 board members are elected by all members of the, or all voters in the district. A by-trustee area system is the only safe harbor from any lawsuits underneath the CVRA, the California Voting Rights Act. And in that situation, the school district's boundaries are divided into trustee areas that are the same number as the number of trustees, and 1 board member then is elected from each area. Board members are elected by the registered voters of the trustee area where that board member lives. Nothing about this process changes the school attendance boundaries. Nothing about this changes the existing terms of office for any of the board members. And of course, the board members still serve the whole district and all of the students in it. So the process that we're going through is a statutorily prescribed process between the education code and election code. And that started in September. The board adopted a resolution essentially announcing their intention to move forward in this process towards transitioning to the by-trustee election system in furtherance of those purposes in the California Voting Rights Act. The board held 2 public hearings prior to any maps being developed. Those are, again, consistent with what the election code calls for there to be meetings ahead of time before there's any maps, just to hear from the board members and the community about what might be of interest. Those meetings took place in December. Then we hold 2 meetings with maps, and we'll get to those in a second. The first of those was in January, and the district published the 3 what are called map scenarios about a week, 8 days actually before the January 18th meeting. and we gave this presentation and took questions on the maps at that time. And we are back now for the second of those two public hearings. Then after tonight, the next step in the process would be in 2 weeks on February 29th, a special board meeting where the board would be asked to select a map and then adopt a resolution on making that change. The next step in the process after that, just to kind of as a preview of what the whole process looks like, once the board approves the change and that resolution, then the matter goes to the County Committee on School District Organization, which is a mouthful, but it's essentially the County Board of Education sitting as this other entity, but it's the same board members. The County Committee holds a hearing in the district, in this room, and another opportunity for the County Committee to hear from members of the public if they want, and then at that point, then the County Committee would vote, you know, in an ideal world, to adopt whatever the board has asked them to adopt. Upon approval from the County Committee, then the new voting area map and election sequencing would be sent to the County Registrar of Voters for use in the upcoming November 2024 election. So that is the sequence of events, the process, the criteria for developing these maps that was used when these maps were developed. Number one is population balance, that by law, what are called these trustee areas or sub-districts need to be substantially equal in population. And then brand new legislation went into effect January 1, sets out these additional criteria in the election code that in order of priority that have to be taken into account. The trustee areas have to be geographically contiguous. They have to be connected to each other. You can't have a little, you know, Alaska over here connected with another portion. They have to respect local neighborhoods and communities of interest. They have to respect census designated areas and natural and artificial boundaries. Those can be things like rivers or major roads. They should be as geographically compact as possible, and what that means is you want to try to avoid as much as possible having really little trustee areas physical size wise, and then have one that stretches way over here. Sometimes that's not always possible because you have to take into account where folks live and the primary goal of having the population balance. And the statute specifically restricts and says you cannot adopt boundaries for the purpose of favoring or disfavoring against any incumbent, candidate, or political party. So with all of those things in mind, the district had teamed up with demographers and developed 3 draft map options using that criteria. As I said, Carolyn is here and is going to present those, and you had a chance to look at them at the last meeting as well. You know, they did that using those criteria that I mentioned, as well as demographic considerations, and using census blocks and the census data that they have available. Additionally, and we talked about this at the last meeting, but I'll just make sure to reiterate this, there is a link on the district's website. We've created a separate page for kind of a landing spot for all of the trustee area election components and information. It has the maps on there. There's also a link to a more detailed, essentially like a Google Earth zoom in that has an onlay of the various map iterations. So you can really zoom in and see where, you know, which schools are where, what houses are where. You can plug in your own address. You can do all kinds of things with it to really get a handle on the maps. So highly recommend that if people are kind of visually oriented like I am. Okay, and then there is lots of opportunities for public comment. We've had, now this is our fourth public hearing in this process. Also, as I said, we've got the website available, and there's a link people can put in for comments. Of course, people can make public comment here. Or you can always email the input at lsusd.net. So with that, I will turn it over to Carolyn to do the portion regarding the maps, and then we will, I think, open it up to any other public comment.
Good evening, thank you. So you will have, I think, seen these slides before, but we'll go over them again here. So this is the process that council was referring to. You can see we've gone through September 14th, adopting the resolution, down to today, where we're having our second public hearing on the maps. And then again, just the considerations when we are drawing these scenarios. Obviously, we're in population balance, trying to ensure that there's no more than 10% variance between the trustee areas. Make sure that it's federally compliant with the Federal Voting Rights Act as well as the California Voting Rights Act. That it's contiguous, that it's not bizarrely, we don't have bizarrely shaped areas, and that local neighborhoods and communities of interest are respected. One of these in your area is the Indian reservation. We took care in drawing these scenarios to ensure that we weren't breaking that up. And of course, the new requirement that we don't take into consideration incumbency or where the trustees are located. This is just what we call a geographic profile of your district. You can kind of see just where your cities are located and some sort of areas of interest. We have a total population of 43,594 in your district, and your 18 and over population is 33,506. So this is a different population than you'll see on I believe the next slide, which is the citizen voting age population. So the over 18, or the population that were over 18 during the time of the census, not necessarily eligible to vote. So the citizen voting age population is a 5-year rolling average estimate based on a survey. It's just the best that we have to work with. So this is scenario 1, and you can see in the southern portion, the boundary lines are drawn in more of a north-south orientation. We used Winter Gardens Boulevard, San Vicente Freeway, Lakeshore Drive, Highway 67, and Los Coches Road as dividing lines in the scenario. The scenario has a variance of 6.2%, which is decent. It's under 10%. The Hispanic citizen voting age population is 28.6% in Area 5. That's the highest of all the trustee areas. And the American Indian citizen voting age population is also highest in trustee Area 5 with 4.2%. So here's just another review of the scenario 1. And This is some of the statistics. The black banded areas as your citizen voting age population of these protected classes. So here you can see that Area 5 has the Hispanic Latino citizen voting age population is 28.6%. And even though the American Indian population is not large enough to make up a majority in any of the trustee areas or have plurality, we did try to make an effort to raise the citizen voting age concentration as much as possible in a trustee area. Moving on to scenario 2. That's the variance in trustee area 1 was okay, but wanted to see if we could get down a little bit lower. This map divides a little bit more in an east-west orientation than the north-south in scenario 1. This scenario has an overall variance of 3.8%, and trustee area 1 has the highest percentage of Hispanic CVAP at 24.5%, and the American Indian CVAP is highest in area 5 at 4.0%. We can move on to scenario 3. Scenario 3 breaks up the northern portion of the district more than scenarios 1 and 2. Scenario 1 and 2 sort of keeps it sort of this monolithic area. We broke that up in the scenario. This scenario has the lowest variance of the 3 scenarios, and at 2.6%. And area 1 again has the highest percentage of Hispanic citizen voting age population at 28.8%, and the American Indian citizen voting age population is also highest in trustee area number 1, 3.9%, so a little bit lower than the other scenarios. This scenario also ensures that there's one school in each of the trustee areas. And then this sort of a side-by-side comparison. You can kind of take a look at all 3 of them together and see the variances. So the variance in scenario 1, 6.2%, 2 is 3.8%, and then 3 has the lowest at 2.9%.
And I know we mentioned this before, I'll just kind of explain it again for everybody's benefit. When we talk about variance, one of the things, what that means is how much do we deviate from the goal of having it be as equal as possible in terms of total population in each of the areas. So 6.2% means the span between the population in the lowest of the 5 areas and the biggest of the 5 areas is 6.2%. And so, to be legally compliant, there's been a general rule of under 10%. Obviously, that's what Carolyn was saying, they try to make it as low as possible, give some different options. So lower variance numbers mean less difference between the biggest and smallest in population amongst the trustee areas in that particular scenario.
Any questions?
Do you want to do, is there any public comment?
Yeah, I was going to do public comment. Is there any public comment on this evening? Okay, I will turn it over to the board then. Board, do you have any questions or comments since last time we had a presentation?
Did you have input on the website?
Great question.
Oh, yes, thank you, good question. No.
getting all ready. We thought you were gonna.
I was not ready.
So, we had input that I brought to you at
Right,
the last
from
meeting.
last time.
Since that time, there has not been any new input, so I didn't restate the input that we'd already addressed at the previous meeting. But thank you, I did want to mention that at least. And that is, again, that is a tool that people can use to provide written feedback as well, so we encourage people to do that if they want to.
We want people to do that. And we want people to share it, and we want people to ask questions, because it is a lot. And it's, we want people to be able to share with us what they think. So it's very important, particularly on this, because just, if there's a community of interest that you think we're missing, if there's a community of interest or an area of interest that we're not talking about, I think it's very important. So feel free, share it with your friends, please. Any other questions from the board?
I have a question on scenario 3, because that's kind of where I lean, because it kind of follows our water district and our fire district and everything. But when you look at it, it encompasses also that part of Eucalyptus Hills, past 67, but before the farms. And I know, that community is very protective of their identity as Eucalyptus Hills, so I didn't know if that little area is that encompassing a large percentage, that if we included it in the purplish area instead of the yellow, would that change things quite a bit so that that community doesn't feel separated?
And I think, if I understand,
It's that
what you're talking about is the yellow,
that
yellow chunk to the
yellow
left,
chunk
yes.
over by
I've
the
been wondering
farms.
that.
Yeah.
So we were discussing that actually earlier tonight, and I'll start, then you can give the actual demographic answer. As you can see, this is the full view of concept or scenario 3. In the prior 2 maps, scenarios 1 and 2, it wasn't not yellow in all the maps, but the part that's yellow now encompassed basically all of the northern portion of the district, and so it's so then when they were creating scenario 3, with the goal of creating more compactness, to make that area smaller, you have to make another area bigger, and essentially to then have population variance, they had to grab that chunk to the west side of 67 to get that population there. Go ahead.
So yes, all things are possible. Remember this map has the lowest variance, so there is a bit of wiggle room in it. If this is the map that you generally like, but we can look at making that adjustment, making that portion look a little bit more like scenario 1. And
Scenario 1, ride 67.
right, yeah.
Here, let me just, real quick, I'll toggle the 1 just so people can.
Right,
Yeah.
so the area 1 there has that nice sort of following 67. We might have to go down and, south and grab a little bit more from that area, or, just move some of the other boundaries around a bit, but I think that is perfectly warranted if that is a community of interest, and we definitely want to keep communities of interest together.
I mean, Eucalyptus Hills definitely, they are very proud of their community, they're very intent on keeping that area together, so that's why, when I saw that little part out, it's like, you don't want one to feel different, and that they do have such an identity as Eucalyptus Hills.
And I know my colleague has presented to you previously, has said, and reiterate, these maps are just a starting point.
Right.
They're not like this, these are your choices, A, B, or C. We can do C with a little bit of A, and move move some
I
things
know that's
around
the
and
way
really.
I would lean, because I like 3 because it's got such a low variance already, but that's my only thing that keeps catching me is that little pocket that it really belongs in that other area and not in with the larger yellow area.
And so what I can do between now and your next meeting is come up with a scenario 3A that will, you know, keep that community together and see how we can adjust the other boundaries to accommodate that.
Yeah, I think variance.
Yeah.
Or gonna add for the green section on there, there's also another natural barrier, Julian, that might be
Yeah, that was just gonna
better.
suggest that.
That actually I think would be a better cutoff. It would bring the yellow down a little bit more
Exactly.
south, and then you're not changing the schools.
It's essentially the barrier in scenario 2,
Okay.
with the yellow district in scenario 2. Because
Yeah.
what you're doing is you're smoothing out in scenario 3, the 67. You're gonna move the southernmost portion there, because Lakeshore right now is the dividing line.
Yeah.
You would move it up kind of just similar to the scenario 2 southernmost boundary, which is Julian. And that would, because if you're gonna remove that, the variance would probably not change a bunch, because you're just picking up people here that.
Right.
And it's a high density.
And it's a higher density area, similar to the area that you're cutting off
Yeah.
as you go to the 67 over here. That's something to consider.
Yeah.
Would it be then, if that were, I mean, I'm sure, like, all things are possible, we can see what it looks like in terms of a variance standpoint. Would that be something the board might lean to, and still, as opposed to making the yellow area here large again, like it is in scenario 1? Yeah, so,
Yeah, I don't want to, I like the view of this with moving that one little pocket out of Eucalyptus Hills, but I do like the idea of moving that Julian down.
coming down on the southern border there of yellow
Into
into
the-
green a little bit.
Yes.
To,
Right.
and was that
Yeah.
Julian? You said yes?
That's Julian.
Got it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that picks up, and by the way, that makes sense to me from just a community of interest standpoint, because the folks who live around Lindo Park and in that center portion of town, that is Julian and Lakeshore, it's not that far, and that's certainly a community of interest in the center of town that you could consider. So I think that
I like that idea.
plus, it makes this look smoother and it's not jagged. The only other question I had too was in scenario 3 here, in the blue district, which would be what, trustee area
4.
4. There's that finger that just reaches up.
Yeah, so we are limited to the shape and sizes of the census blocks.
And so that's a census block deal. Okay.
Yeah,
Is that Marilla?
I think it is, yeah.
Which actually,
That kinda makes sense
it's
then
odd
to say
shape, but
that.
it makes sense.
Oh, that does make sense. If that's Marilla, then yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's basically a road that goes all the way around and just connects back to the same
Okay.
road.
Yeah, that makes sense, because it's Marilla and it comes down and goes up Lemon Crest.
Yeah, so it looks odd, but it makes sense from the standpoint of
Yeah.
geographic and one road, that it's really kind of a continuous road.
Can I?
Yeah, I mean, there's no name on here, I can't tell if that's what it is or not, but,
It sure looks like it.
I mean, I'm looking, I can't stare at it deep enough to tell you, I promise, I'm looking.
Go on the website.
Oh, I should go on the website, see, oh, those glasses won't help me with this, I promise you. Okay.
I don't think there's much change in these having in that blue district because of that.
Right.
No, I don't either, I was just wondering why it looked like that, just because, if it was census area, that makes total sense.
yeah.
Yeah, one
We
thing.
have to adjust all the boundaries.
What we were just talking about too, and I wanted to share it so that you know this as it comes back, if we get a map 3A or even a 3A and 3B or something like that, is that if, with the goal of population balance, if we move the yellow chunk there, and back into the purple, and then, to balance out the population of the yellow, we grab some of that into the green, there's the risk then, not the risk, the reality, the green will be much smaller then, by about that same amount of chunk, right? And purple would be bigger, you know, and so those are the, all of these can be done, we can give you a map that looks like that, but we could end up with a green that has a very smaller and a big variance then. Or, and maybe we do something like that and see what it looks like.
Can you go to the last slide?
Yes.
So, right, so we might end up with something, you know, a little bit, sort of combination of all three of these, where we have, you know, you've got area 1 and scenario 2 that's very small and compact because it's in the, you know, it's very densely populated there. So, right, so it's sort of a domino effect. So changing that one piece, changing the second piece, you know, the green's gonna go down, the purple's gonna get higher, so we're gonna have to take some out of purple, maybe put it in blue, and so, you know, we'll have to juggle some things around, but
I think it's worth a look, we may come back,
Yeah.
Like I said, all things are possible. We just need to look at,
And
and
then,
I can come up with maybe a couple of different options.
And even if that goes higher, but it's still under the 10%, but it's better for our community, those are things we have to weigh out.
And
Right.
like I said, in scenario 3, you've got 2.9% variance.
Right.
You have a lot of wiggle room,
Yeah.
you know, if we have to, we can go up to, you know, maybe scenario 3 ends up, or 3A ends up being closer to the scenario 1 variance of 6.2 or 7 or 7 point, you know, as long as it's under 10%, we're good.
Something to consider as well, just as a thought, is if you're looking at scenario 3 and you look at the blue district and you see that it looks like that it's 67 that is our dividing line there. You could consider, you could hop the freeway and perhaps use Riverside Drive. That's gathering a lot of stuff, but there's like a riverbed in there. So, and we're not counting the homeless. So, you know, it's something to consider that you could hop over, and that may help you, because if you smooth it out, it reaches up. But those are still similar-ish.
Yeah, and again, like, in these maps, you're not seeing all of the census blocks.
Yeah, that's right.
Some census blocks are
Sure.
really long and skinny, some census blocks are, you know, some census blocks have little census blocks inside of them, and so all of that has to be moved, you know, together, so it's, you know, it can be a huge block. The population that moves in and out. So there are some challenges just in the fact, just the way the census blocks are drawn, which I'm not a fan of whoever is drawing the census blocks, by the way.
Yeah, their rules don't apply to our.
Like, sometimes there'll be like a really long, skinny census block, and, you know, it'd be perfect if it was like just cut in half. But, you know, I'm trying to make this area, and so this long, so it has this like long, skinny finger, and I was like, you can't do that. So,
Makes sense.
yeah, so, but I can do my best to come up with a couple of options to keep that scenario 1, sort of keeping that community better together.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay. Excellent. Well, I think that will close our public hearing on the CVRA.
thank you very much.
Thank you all. Appreciate your efforts.
So we will have, the next meeting is on the 29th, so we'll have maps posted by the 22nd. So you'll have a week, and they'll be available to board members and also to the public on the website a week beforehand.
Excellent. Okay. Great. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right. We will now resume our public comment that we have. Lisa, who is our next speaker?
Michelle Williams.
And I didn't say this earlier to members of the public, but we are not able to respond to you, so feel free to ask us whatever you'd like. We just are barred by law. We can't. So you have 4 minutes. Feel free to speak.
Understood, thank you. Thank you for listening. So that's most important, I believe, right now. I am one of the aides who did have to seek other employment because I do provide insurance for my family, and understood that these changes were coming, and so I am grateful that I can still continue to provide that for my family. But I am concerned about the infant program and its direction. Our program is so special and so different than anything else in the district. And the parents that bring their little ones to us, this is their first experience most of the time with schooling, with having to leave their children in a classroom that can't come home and tell them what happened with their day. So on our end, we have to make that as comfortable for them and make them happy and safe. And some of these parents come from Santee. We service Santee and Lakeside, which I think is wonderful because early intervention is so key for a lot of these families. And when they turn 3 and have to move on, back in Santee, we've had several parents, oh, this program's so wonderful, I wish we could stay. How do we stay in Lakeside? What can we do to stay in Lakeside? So I feel that that speaks volumes for our district. And with the cuts that are happening, the time that our teachers have to do the things that they need to do, I'm not sure that it's understood that they're having students in and out all year long. They don't have specific minimum days to do their meetings. They're constantly meeting with new families, having 6-month IFSPs that they have to do, or IEPs that they have to do for the preschool kids moving on. So where most of the teachers in the district are having 1 or 2 meetings with their special needs children, our teachers are having 4 or 5 and having to include regional center and make all the kinds of arrangements. And so the help that the aides provide, I feel, in the hours that we've been there, have been extraordinary for them to get their reports done on time. You know, they don't want to go to a meeting unprepared and say, oh, I couldn't do that because I had to wipe down the toys that our infant kids put in their mouths constantly. So I just hope that with these cuts that are happening, that the program is still looked at and evaluated in a way that this is beneficial to the program, and hopefully it can still continue to run in a manner that parents are saying what a great program it is and how wonderful this is. And I know that handprints or prepping art might not mean a lot to some people, but for these parents where this is their first experience with school, it's wonderful for them and they love it and they want more of it. So I guess in conclusion, I just want to say that I hope that the program continues to flourish and parents can be proud to bring their kids. And thank you. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Lisa, our next public comment.
The last one is Christine Burnham.
Hello, my name is Christine Burnham. Come up here, Jared. This is my daughter Patricia. She's deaf. This is my son Jared. He's speech delayed. They were both in infant stimulation programs. Her teacher would drive to our apartment in Santa Ana and teach Patricia and myself baby sign language. And it stopped her from banging her head on the floor because she couldn't understand lip reading. And I wanted my baby not to be brain damaged, so I found sign language to help her a lot. The infant stimulation program she was in had teacher aides, teachers, and nurses. This is Jared. He has cerebral palsy, autism, and Fragile X syndrome. So his central nervous system has been hit 3 different ways. As I said before in a meeting, Marcia and Nancy and Cheryl helped him. Jared, sit in your chair. Sit the way you usually sit. Cross your legs. Okay. He's not doing it, but he sits like Buddha. They taught him how to sit like Buddha, and then they taught him to stand, and then they taught him to walk, and then he started to run. We came here a little late because we just finished their dance classes at Arms Wide Open. The infant stimulation program set them up to become successful adults. And I just wanted you to meet them. I'm almost finished. I have 4 questions that you don't need to answer, just consider. Question number 1 is for our policy makers. You can sit down. Who cares about our babies? Question number 2, is this a matter of time and money, or is this a matter of time and babies? Question number 3, what's going to happen to my friends, my fellow A's who provide for their families? Some of them are single, some are heads of household, some work for benefits, some need the money. Some of them are single and don't have resources to help them. What's going to happen to them when their hours decrease? What about the teachers? They have emails and text messages and meetings and computer work to do, and it takes all 3 of us to work together to set up the room in the morning, to get the babies from the cars and the buses. It takes all 3 of us to watch the babies play and then go to their workstations and then go outside and get exercise and then come in and get snack, get their diapers changed. Then it takes time to get the babies out to their cars and their fathers and mothers and grandfathers and grandmothers. And my time is up.
You can finish. You can finish.
So what's going to happen to the teachers? Do they have to bring their work home with them? What will happen to their family life if they have work interfering with their families? And then again, my last question is, who cares about the babies? We do, and we hope you do. Thank you.
No further speakers? Okay, thank you. All right, we will now move on to our presentation from Dr. Winspear on the LCAP mid-year update. Dr. Winspear.
Okay, so most years I give a mid-year LCAP update. Some years we're required by the state to do that. Some years we're not. This year we are required by the state to give a mid-year update, which is actually great timing because since we are finishing a 3-year LCAP and writing a new LCAP, by presenting you with a lot of data today, it will mean that it won't take as much time for me to present you with the end of the year data in June, and we can focus on some data in June and then the actual new plan that we developed. So we've got a lot of metrics that have just recently come in. For example, our chicks data arrived this week, so we thought we weren't gonna have it, now we do. Our winter map testing just completed last week, so we just got that data in here, so we'll be able to talk about quite a few of our LCAP metrics tonight. So we're gonna cover it, the metrics and actions by goal, and you can see here that we're going to cover about 2 actions and metrics per goal so that we have less to do in June. So LCAP Goal 1, as you know, is that all students will make academic growth in order to reach mastery of grade level standards, individual goals, and the development of the LUSD student profile competencies. So in Goal 1, one of our metrics is our math data. We wrote this LCAP during the pandemic, so we chose math data as the metric rather than end of year data, and I actually think math data is better than using our CAST data. So we've been using the MAP assessment long enough that now I can give you 4 years worth of longitudinal data, which is pretty cool. If you recall, for those of you that were here, 2 years ago, the story was visible learning loss from 21 to 22 due to the pandemic. So we saw a dip in scores between winter of 21 and winter of 22. Last year, we celebrated that we looked to have stabilized from winter of 22 to winter of 23, and we were no longer showing a dip in learning, which is actually wonderful because a lot of districts continued to show some learning loss. I think that probably because we had hybrid instruction during the pandemic, we maybe didn't see as deep of a loss as other districts. This year, I'm excited to report that we're seeing our reading achievement increased from last year, and we are right there at or very close to the national norms, which are the yellow triangles. This means that we are back to heading in the right direction, up, in terms of our scores. It is not huge growth. Regardless, it is growth, and we are closer to growing at the same rate as other schools across the nation, whereas last year, we were farther from the national norms. This means that the things we are doing, like early literacy intervention, What I Need Now time, our Encore after-school program, our data discussions with our TOSAs, those things are showing their impact on our learners. And then in terms of the LCAP goal in this area, our metric is those national norms. So you can see that at all grade levels, we are very, very close, or at least approaching the national norms. So we can't say that the goal has been met, but given that the pandemic happened in here and we're back to moving up in the right direction at every single grade level, I think this is really good news. We're seeing similar results in math. It's a little bit more of a mixed bag, I would say. For our math data, there was evidence of learning loss between 21 and 22 with stabilization in 22 to 23. Then at most grade levels, we're seeing growth again this year. Our elementary intervention efforts in terms of our in-school interventionists and our Encore after-school intervention, that intervention isn't focused on math. That intervention is focused on early literacy because we feel like that's where we need to start to get the biggest bang for our buck in terms of student improvements. So that may be one of the reasons why we have a less dramatic increase this year. We also have completed our ELA alignment and calibration, which means we've done a lot of work towards the guaranteed and viable curriculum across the district in ELA. We are currently engaged in that work in math. So again, that could be part of why we're seeing our scores increase in ELA. Regardless, we do believe that we are starting to trend in math in the right direction. We also believe that the math alignment and calibration work that we are doing is going to have a significant impact. And I'm going to talk a lot more about that later and what that looks like and what our teachers are getting out of it and all of the amazing, not just frameworks that we're creating, but lesson plans and math experiences for our students. So in terms of our LCAP goal in this area, our metric was to meet the national norms. And again, while we can't say we met the goal, we're so very close. In fact, in second grade, we're only 0.05 off from meeting the national norm. So we're really excited about the work that we're doing in math. These charts show second graders over 4 years. So obviously that's a different group of students every single year. So another metric that we look at to see what kind of growth we have in terms of the same cohort is our MAP growth data. So for example, this bar chart These are second graders that were first graders last year. And then the third graders were second graders, obviously, last year. And we're looking at growth between that same group of students from second grade to third grade. So, the orange triangles, again, show national norms for growth at each grade level. So at most of our grade levels, we are hitting or approaching the national average for growth. Our RIT growth this year is higher in every grade level than it was last year. So that is another sign that we're trending in the right direction. And then for math, similar. With the, we've got growth by cohort with the exception of 6th grade. Like I said, this data just came in at the end of last week, and so we haven't had a chance to dig into what's happening here in 6th grade. But all of our other cohorts are showing growth at least either at or exceeding, and in some cases approaching the national norm for growth. So what are we doing to increase student achievement? So you know we have a variety of programs that we are implementing. One is our new Encore After School Intervention Program. That program is serving 3rd through 8th graders after school, 3 days a week. And this year we're doing 4 cohorts. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. We have our MTSS TOSAs who continue to work alongside our leaders and teachers to build systems of support. We continue to engage in KidWatch, where principals and teachers engage regularly with multiple data sources to determine the needs of their students. We continue to use our Imagine Learning Suite, where all students have access to individualized intervention and enrichment. Several of our sites are regrouping for What I Need Now time, so they can provide intervention and enrichment during the school day. And then also we have an intervention teacher at all of our schools, with 1.5 at Lindo Park and Lemon Crest, and then we have a slightly different intervention model in middle school that I will talk about. So let's look a little bit at our intervention program data. This is in-school intervention and Encore. Our elementary intervention teacher impact. So far this year, we've impacted 339 students already with in-school intervention, and you can see that most of our elementary schools are focused primarily on 1st and 2nd graders, but when we have space and time, some schools are bringing in kinders that need a little extra boost. Some schools are bringing in 3rd graders. There's a lot of data on this page. I'm not going to talk about all of it, but essentially these are, I would say, success stories with our different intervention programs. So I'm just going to point out that at Lakeside Farms, 80% of 2nd graders served achieved a 35-point improvement or graduated from intervention. And at Lemon Crest, 90% of 1st graders have shown growth of at least a half a grade level since the beginning of the year. So these are the impacts of those intervention programs. And then, of course, we love to see the feel-good stuff. So we've got a couple of notes to teachers. Our first note here is a 2nd grade student who was not interested in reading, and since attending intervention, with personal connections being made, the parents have communicated that he now enjoys reading to them while they make dinner or any time, and he can never be found without a book in his hand. And then a 1st grade student with poor attendance who thrived in the intervention setting, both as attendance and self-confidence have improved dramatically. So we are changing kids' lives in this program. And then we have another note from a student. I feel more confident when I'm in this program. I feel like I am in 5th grade when I'm in this program, and I feel better when I am in this program. And then these are some fun student quotes that our intervention teachers collected. Who knew reading could be so much fun? This is my favorite time of day. This class makes me want to come to school. So a lot of great quotes from our students who are participating in the intervention program. And then at the middle school, we structured the program a little bit differently, and we gave the middle school teams an opportunity to kind of decide what they felt like they needed to focus on. So at TDS, they are providing reading intervention using the WIN model, and they're using their intervention time to do math support. So you can see they have a math support class for newcomer students, and then they have 2 additional math support classes with very small groups of students. And then at Lakeside Middle School, there's 2 reading support classes and 2 math classes, math support. And you see we're trying to keep these as small group intervention programs. Then our Encore intervention program, which is new this year, You can see that in cycle 1, we had 92 students participate. In cycle 2, we had 125 students. In cycle 3, 117. The number of teachers who want to teach in our after-school program really does dictate the number of students that we can serve. So we are always recruiting and encouraging teachers. We also have a situation where at one site we have a lot of teachers that wanted to do intervention. So based on school ending times, we were able to have a teacher move from one school to another to provide intervention at that site where fewer teachers wanted to work after school. So again, you can see that we're getting really positive feedback from this program. My child will continue in the Encore program. I have seen improvement and a new love for reading. We have seen huge growth in Carson's reading and decrease in his frustration level, and then some thank yous to staff for this program. So I couldn't just add these numbers up at the bottom and tell you how many kiddos we'd impacted, because we actually have students that are repeats. So we have students who have been in all 3 cycles. And then we have students who graduated from the program. So we've impacted a total of 216 students, and you can see how many at each school site we have been able to serve. Keeping in mind that the middle schools, we brought them in at cycle 3. So they've only had one. They're in cycle 3 right now. We were trying to build it slowly so that we could work out the kinks, and so we've already made some pretty significant changes based on teacher and parent feedback. So moving on to goal 2. All students will receive support that enables them to thrive socially and emotionally, including the celebration of the diversity within our community and the affirmation of the importance of our common humanity. So in goal 2, we talk a lot about our California Healthy Kids Survey data. A lot of our metrics are based on CHICS data. So one of our metrics, and we met this goal, is that we wanted 85% of our parents to report that school is a safe place for their students. So we've met that goal 2 years in a row. We also had the metric that we wanted staff at 85% of staff to report that school is a safe place for their students. So we have also met that goal 3 years in a row. We also had a goal that 85% of students would report that they feel safe at school. So this metric looks a lot like it did last year. 72% of our 5th graders are reporting feeling safe at school, and 52% of our 7th graders. We also wanted to increase connectedness of our parents and students. So the percentage of parents reporting active participation at school, that obviously took a big hit during the pandemic because they couldn't come on campus. And you see that every year since then, we've been going up. Staff are reporting that their work environment is a supportive and inviting place to work. Our goal was 85%, and this year we hit 93% of staff reporting that their work environment is a supportive and inviting place to work. Super excited about that. And then the percentage of students reporting that they feel connected at school, 71% of our 5th graders and 55% of our 7th graders are reporting feeling connected at school. And then the percentage of students responding pretty much true or very much true that they have caring adults in school. Our goal is 85%, our 5th graders are coming in at 71%, and our 7th graders at 58%. So these are all areas where we are always continuing to put effort into improving these areas. And then this year they stopped asking this question in 7th grade, so I can't report 7th grade data, but it's students reporting receiving social emotional learning support at school, and in 5th grade, our 5th graders are reporting, 74% are reporting that they are receiving that support at school. So this is not a metric on our LCAP, but I bring this data to you every year because it's something that we track really closely and take very seriously. So you can see that in 22, 23, 30% of our 7th graders reported that they had chronic sad or hopeless feelings in the last 12 months, and that went up a little bit this year to 33%. And then last year, 9% of our 7th graders reported that they have seriously contemplated suicide in the last 12 months, and that went up this year to 14%. So this is the reason why we have school counselors. This is the reason why we are so committed to social emotional learning and PBIS. And this is also why we have a partnership with Wellness Together for mental health supports for our students. Every student matters, and we're not okay with one student having these thoughts and feelings. So let's look at how are we mitigating that. Obviously our school counselors are having a huge impact. We've had district-wide over 350 guidance lessons taught by our school counselors, over 350 small group lessons taught so far this year, and we're just halfway through the year. We've got 320 students receiving check-in, check-out support, which is where they check in with an adult in the morning, they check out again in the afternoon. We've had more than 1,400 students coming in for drop-in support from the counselor because they're having an issue where they need support that day. They're not necessarily on the caseload, but they need help and the counselor is there. We have 3 counseling interns. A shout out to Kelsey, our counselor at Lemoncrest. She has 3, and she's our counselor that's always got the interns, and she's got 3 this year, which is awesome. It allows them to serve more students at Lemoncrest. And then 1,500 plus parent outreach is made in support of students from our school counselors. And then because we saw the data about students thinking about self-harm and suicide, you can also see that our self-harm and suicide screenings have gone up. So if we hear of a student who we think might be thinking about harming themselves, we do an assessment. We have a pretty in-depth research-based assessment process that we engage in. This data increased pretty significantly this year from last year. So we've done a lot more is what I'm saying. So mental health services. This is our partnership with Wellness Together. You can see that we've had a total of 3,115 interactions. This was between August and December with our mental health specialists. Between August and December, we had 186 students referred with 171 getting services. Parents have to agree to the service, so this could be that 91% of parents agreed with the service. This could also be kids that were referred that then left the district, so we have about a 91% rate of students receiving services who were referred. You can see by school that obviously we have a higher need at our middle schools. That's not surprising. Then you can see by grade level, again, we have a higher need. We do have a little spike there in 2nd grade, and then 4th and up, we're seeing pretty consistent needs for this kind of support. And then here you can see why students are being referred to the program. So most students for emotional regulation, a significant number for worry or anxious mood, relationship problems, 56 for sadness or low mood, 45 for major life transitions, and so on. So these are the reasons why we're seeing students in this program. Any questions on the first 2 goals? Okay, just because it's a lot, so I thought I'd chunk it up. Okay, goal 3, the district and school sites will pursue purposeful and innovative instructional models to foster high levels of student engagement and ensure that all students are academically challenged. So here we have our math alignment and calibration work with our partners for math transformations. So Andrea Barra, who owns Math Transformations, she and I eat regularly, and we often laugh because we literally can't believe that this thing we created is actually working because it is so complicated. But we're thrilled that it is working, and we're starting to work now on what next year is going to look like. And today we said, oh gosh, this is going to be crazy, and then we said we can do this. We did it last year. So essentially, throughout the year, our school sites have been meeting to create our coherent math system. And what the teachers asked for last year was they didn't just want the Lemoncrest teachers to work together to build a unit. They wanted cross-school collaboration to build units. So we created this system where we kind of divided our schools in half, and half the schools work together on A, C, and E, and the other on B, D, and F units, so that we have teacher collaboration work across several schools on every single unit that they're creating. So this is how it's all landing. So on the right-hand side, you can see all of the blue links. So first we created priorities, standards, and frameworks. Those are all links. We created curriculum roadmaps. Those are all linked. And now we're working on unit foundations. So every grade is going to have 6 unit foundations at the end of this year. So it is a huge undertaking. So this is what a math standards framework looks like. This is an example in 2nd grade where they've taken the standards and built a framework. And then we take that then into the curriculum roadmap for how those standards are going to be taught and when. And then this is what the teachers are creating now in that cross-school collaboration. So they're building unit foundations, which are essentially 4 math experiences that include the priority standards, the essential questions, the experiences for the students, the tasks, and then they've created an implementation guide. So if I wasn't part of creating that unit, but my colleagues from the other schools were, I get the whole package here that I get to use, whether I created it or not, if that makes sense. So what teachers have loved and appreciated, we do surveys every week, and we get so much, every survey I read and every survey is positive. So these are just a few things we pulled out. Teachers are loving the simplicity of the tasks, that it's gonna require little preparation because they've already been developed. They love the low floor and high ceiling, which means they can bring any student at any level into the lesson because the lessons are created that way. They love the professional development going beyond just doing the activities, but actually, they actually do the activities and play the games that their students are gonna play, so they can figure out what's gonna work, what's not gonna work, where are the challenges going to be, how can we support our colleagues in mitigating those challenges that we think are going to happen. They love being treated like knowledgeable professionals, and they love the connections to the curriculum materials. So just a few pictures. Every Tuesday and Thursday, practically, if you come to the district, in 1 or 2 conference rooms, you will see teachers working together on developing all of these things that we're talking about. And you can see by the pictures, they've got the games in front of them, they have the materials, they've got their computers open, so they're playing the game, they're very competitive, and then they're typing in and creating the units. So again, different grade level, different conference room, working with the materials. Again, a different day, working with the materials. And then I believe these pictures may have been taken on Halloween. But the most important thing is that they're engaged and they're having fun. My favorite thing, and I wish I could do it more, is to sit in on these sessions because it is so fun to watch the teachers play the games and talk through the lessons, and they are facilitated so skillfully by math experts. We do not have the expertise in-house to do this amount of work with our teachers because there's just not that many of us. And so bringing in math transformations, every grade level has an expert that's leading this work throughout the course of the year, and these are math content experts. So it's a really cool program. Okay, and then pivoting to attendance data, I'm not gonna do much here because I've already been updating you, but the short story is, in the first 85 days of the school year, you can see, compared to the first 85 days of last year, our positive attendance is up. And then if we break it down by student group or age group, you can see in every age group, our positive attendance is increasing. You can see that our chronic and manageable absenteeism is going down in 23-24, whereas our satisfactory and excellent attendance is going up. So that is a very good thing. We need to keep this momentum going. And then every single school created an attendance improvement plan this year, and they are working those plans. There's reinforcement systems, there's calling parents of kiddos who don't come to school and saying, we miss you, where are you, when are you coming back? So what you can see is that our chronic rates have gone down at almost every single school in the first 85 days of the school year, and at some schools, pretty significantly. Yes. Okay, transitioning to goal 4. Goal 4 we added this year, and we added it, it essentially looks just like goal 1, but we really wanted to have a hyper focus on our students with disabilities because that is a student group that has been in the red range on the dashboard. Red is bad. And so we really wanted to hyper focus on our students with disabilities. So this is the same data. You can see I talked to you a lot at these presentations about the achievement gap, and that's the gap between where our all student group is performing versus other student groups, and in this case it's our students with disabilities. So you can see they're farther away from those national norms than our all student group was. But what you can also see, which is super exciting, is a really strong trend of growth in reading over the last 4 years. We did have learning loss during the pandemic, you can see it, and then we stabilized, and almost every grade level has increased or made pretty significant gains. So we're really excited about that. And then in math, You can see that second, third, fourth, fifth, and seventh grade are showing a trend of growth over a 4-year period, which we're excited about. Not quite as dramatic as reading, but we're gonna take it. Look at that 5th grade jump and that 7th grade jump and that 2nd grade jump. The cool thing about the math transformations work is that our special ed teachers are in it every step of the way. When we designed this, we wanted to make sure that we had enough subs so that we could release our special ed teachers to develop these units right alongside our gen ed teachers. And so this year I would say that we've made a decisive shift towards being proactive in special education versus reactive. We've done that really in one way by just increasing staffing. With 2 program specialists and a teacher on special assignment, we are able to give timely support to staff, and I think that makes a huge difference. So before, with less staff, having been in that role, it was a lot of running around and trying to fix problems. Now we have enough staff to be proactive and keep problems from occurring, hopefully. We also have time to really look at curriculum enhancements. We're piloting programs, and we're looking at what different programs would work for our different special education environments. As you know, we've got 40 teachers in the district going through the LETTERS program, the Science of Reading. Well, when we designed that, we specifically held 25% of the spots for special education teachers. We really wanted special ed staff to be part of that PD, and so 10 of those teachers are special education teachers. Gabby, our awesome BCBA, has been out doing all kinds of things at the sites. Tessa mentioned that she's coming to Window Park and working with her team. She is providing monthly training to special education teachers and to our behavior aides. And then we've also improved assessment and site support. So we've improved our assessment practices. We're moving to some online assessments, which is streamlining the time it's taking to do special education assessments and freeing up those professionals, again, to do less testing and more direct student support. So a lot of really positive enhancements in special education in Goal 4. This is our money slide, and I'm excited to share with you that we budgeted about $14.8 million. Halfway through the year, we've spent about $7 million, so we are right on track with our expenditures towards our LCAP goals. And again, we're closing out this 3-year LCAP, and we're going to be writing a new one. So far in January and February, we really wanted to increase our opportunities for community input because we're writing a whole new plan. So far we have done a thought exchange. We did that in January. We got input from staff, parents, and students. We held a community input night on February 1st. We held another one on February 5th. We held another one that was virtual on February 12th. We are going to be getting more input from our parent advisory committee in March, and then we're also going to be doing input sessions with our management team, our teacher advisory committee, and our class advisory committee. So trying to get lots and lots and lots of input. And that is it. Is there anything else you would like to know or any questions you have for me?
Any questions, colleagues? Any questions? Any comments? Well, I just want to say thank you for that. I love the data, and I love seeing all the growth that we're seeing. I wanted to see some new data, so thank you for sharing all that. It's really good. Okay, moving along here. We need to designate our consent agenda items. So do I have a motion to designate items to the consent agenda?
I make a motion to designate the items to the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. That passes unanimously. Okay. Is there any items that we would like to pull? I would like to pull 2.3 and 2.4. Okay. Any other items that you'd like to pull? Okay. Then I'll entertain a motion to approve all the items on the consent agenda with the exception of 2.3 and 2.4.
So we approve all items except for 2.3 and 2.4.
Okay. Is there a second? Okay. All in favor? Aye. All right. That passes unanimously. Okay. 2.3. So this is for the California School Boards Association Delegate Assembly for Region 17. We can elect or select up to 9 other board colleagues from across the county to serve. I used to serve on the Delegate Assembly, and so I know some of these people. I don't know all these people. It's been quite a bit of turnover since I was last there. But the two that I know well enough is Dawn Perfect from Ramona. She's quite stellar. And then actually, Dr. Don Sauter is a newly elected member at the Humboldt-Ozura School Board. And I met him through the Elks Lodge in El Cajon years ago. Like he's like the king elk in El Cajon. So, I mean, exalt the king. I was an elk, so I don't use the right terminology. But anyway, great guy. I think he'd advocate for kids at the state level. The other reason I'm selecting rural districts is that if you'll notice from the list, most of these districts are very large. And I like to make sure that there's always a group of people that can advocate for rural districts because it's a huge and a very important aspect of public education is serving rural communities. So I think that those are the two that I would like to vote for. Of course, if you guys have others, open to your suggestions.
I agree with those two, I think for those same very reasons that with the small and have led through the bias and those two as well.
Okay. Any other thoughts or comments? Okay, well then I will move that we vote for Dr. Don Sauter and Don Perfect for CSBA Delegate Assembly. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimously. 2.4. This is the Love of Reading Week resolution. I just wanted to comment that for members of the public, this is a fantastic opportunity for if you want to be engaged on your school site, you can. And you can read to kids, and there's different events. This Lindell Park, as you heard mentioned, there's lots of events for this. So every site does something. And so I would encourage you to go out and read. I love reading. One of my favorite pictures ever as a school board member was when it was really rainy, and I went to Dream, and Ron and Karen did a very candid photo. It's like the best picture ever. And so I just loved it because the kids were so happy, and I didn't know I was getting photographed, and it was really cool. So anyway, we had a great time. So I would love to hear a motion or any other comments on this. Okay, well then I'll motion to approve the resolution for designating Love of Reading Week. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Great. Okay, moving right along here. Enrollment report, that was in our packets. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Are there any questions on that? No? Okay. Quarterly investment report, any comments or questions on that? Okay. 0 complaints on the Williams report. Yay, that's a good thing. So I'm happy about that. Any thoughts there? Okay. On legislative updates, is there anything you guys want to discuss from a legislative perspective? I will just tell you that I anticipate next month having some legislative positions we may want to consider. The legislature is back in session, so guard your wallets and liberty because they're coming for you. But they will have some bills that we should probably discuss at some point. Because the bill introduction deadline is the end of this month, so we will see what good ideas or bad ideas they've cooked up this year. There's going to be 3,000 of them. Anyway, so that's that. Any thoughts or things that we should flag?
Not at this time.
Okay, great. Then we'll move to our first readings on board policy and AR 131.2. Complaints regarding instructional materials. Any thoughts or comments on that?
I had just one comment on that. I think this is a really good step in the right direction. I think it gives the community and parents a chance to give some input and have a little bit of voice in what's going on with curriculum. So I'm actually kind of encouraged by this one.
Excellent. Yeah, for me, this is very important. As a lot of folks know, that I want parents to know that they do have a process and that they are aware of what that process looks like. If they don't, like piece of curriculum, or they would like to object to a piece of curriculum. So I think it's timely and helpful. So that will come back to us next month. And if you have specific edits in the meantime, please make sure you send that to staff. Okay. Any other thoughts on, next on the board policy AR 1312.3, uniform complaint procedures. Any thoughts there?
Yeah, I had a couple comments.
Okay.
First off, it goes from number 8 to 10, which I thought was weird. 9 is struck out and it goes to 10.
Oh, I probably just didn't number it right. I'll look at that one.
Very minor. And then on that one, I have a question in regards to it. It states that, sorry, this is a long sentence, which we're very good at doing in these things.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Discrimination, harassment, intimidation, or bullying in district programs and activities, including in those programs or activities funded directly by or that receive or benefit from any state financial assistance. It says, based on the person's actual or perceived characteristics of race, ethnicity, color, ancestry, nationality, national origin, immigration, ethnic, it goes on, I don't even need to read them all. I don't understand how somebody's can be perceived race, perceived ethnicity, perceived color, perceived nationality. Like, I don't understand why those are perceived. It doesn't make sense.
Okay.
I can endeavor to try and answer that, but I'm not sure if it's going to be the right answer. But essentially, an example that I can come up with is that there are people who are biracial or multiple nationalities, and they can choose what nationality they most identify with.
But they can't choose or perceive their age. I can't perceive that I'm 55. That's a given. I get senior discounts when I'm 55. I'm not there yet.
Yes, and these are pulled generally straight from the law, so that may be the way that the law is written. And can you tell me where you are? I couldn't find.
I'm sorry. So under complaints subject to UCP, it's the number 10, which I think is
Oh, got it. So okay, at the bottom, it starts at the bottom of the first page.
Yeah, and then I'm kind of reading on the top of the next page.
So
I do understand where they're going with perception. Specifically in these rules, they talk a lot about perceived gender, perceived identities, things like that. That I'll concede, I don't have to agree with, but I'll concede. But there's a lot in there that I don't understand how it could possibly be perceived. I mean, the law really states that you can perceive your own age or your own marital status or pregnancy, like you can determine whether or not you're pregnant or not. I can just say I'm pregnant, even if I'm not, because that's how I perceive it.
I think probably the best I can do in the moment is get a legal opinion
Well,
or an explanation.
That's why we do the first reading. So yeah, let's.
I do agree that legally there might be some language that needs to go as perceived, but I think it's written in a way that you could say that you're perceiving things that legally we don't typically perceive.
Yeah, let's take a look at what the law says and then tighten it up if we have the ability to do so.
I mean, it's even perceived genetic information, which is like.
That's kind of yes. I hear what you're saying. When I read through it,
it's like it's not my DNA. I don't perceive it that way.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Excellent. Any other thoughts on this one? Yeah. Let's make sure we look at that. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Board policy 3312 on contracts. Anything on this one? No, I thought that one was, of all of these, the most straightforward. Board policy and administrative regulation 3460, financial reports and accountability. Any thoughts there? Comments or edits? That's pretty clean. Board policy and administrative regulation 4161.1 and 4361.1, personal illness, injury leave. Any thoughts there? That reminded me of my HR manual, is whatever I'm doing. Okay, any other comments? Yeah, go ahead.
Just going back to what the one that Jim was talking about, I could see where it could be an issue with the perceived age thing, just in case we have students that have to age out of programs or something, I'm not sure if that
Actually-
would be a legal gray area, so just, yeah.
Actually, I think this is an important concept. Dr. Whisper, would you be able to just elaborate for the board about UCPs and how that works so that we know, as we're thinking through edits to these things moving forward, like, you know, what what they do. Like, as I understand it, it's about if somebody files a complaint, and then we follow all these things. So could you kind of just go through how somebody could make a complaint to us? And if you can't, that's okay. We can get legal counsel to do it. Where if somebody's age, you know, they say, hey, actually my age is, you know, 12 or whatever, and somebody complains to us, like, what would a situation look like that?
So we've never had that situation. Generally, those UCPs come to me, and I'm the one that ends up investigating them. So normally, it's discrimination or alleged discrimination based on race, or we've had them before where sexual harassment has been alleged, not with employees, but with students. So I've never had the age situation, so I really can't speak to that. I'll give you an example of how I could imagine that something like that would happen. We've been talking a lot about how we have a lot of newcomers coming into the district, which means people moving to the United States from other countries, and they're newcomers and don't speak English. Sometimes those people that come to the country don't come with any documentation. So we oftentimes find ourselves in a situation where we are taking their word for what the age of the student is, and there have absolutely been times where we have a big question mark where we think the student is actually older than that, or maybe we think the student is actually younger than that. So we have to make calls, and it's gray. So we have to decide in collaboration with the family, using an interpreter, like what's the right grade to put this kiddo in. And so it has never happened, but I could imagine a scenario where we were not in agreement with the family, and they could then file a uniform complaint, so they would fill out the form, and then that would prompt an investigation into the issue. I've done enough of these where I generally don't need to work with legal counsel. I do the investigations, but that might be one where I might be working with legal counsel to say, never done one like this before, I'm not even sure where to begin. So that's just one example that I can imagine.
I think it's important so you're talking about how we designate what their age is, for instance. That's different than us discriminating to them based on their age. So if we accept, and they accept their perceived age, it doesn't relate to discrimination because of their age. Does that make sense?
Yes, and they may not agree is what I'm saying. So they may not, if we put the student, so I'm just imagining this, that's just one situation that I could imagine.
Yeah, I think, so, and this is where, I'm gonna split hairs a little bit, but, and I'll step on this landmine. Typically, this is generally with gender. That's typically where they talk about perception. My issue always with perceived gender or perceived anything is you have a universal code that says I can't discriminate against you because you're either male or female, for instance. What you decide you are is irrelevant to the discrimination, because I can't discriminate whether or not you're a boy or a girl. So whether or not you perceive yourself as a boy or a girl, I still can't discriminate against you because you're determining whatever you are. Either one you are, I can't discriminate because it's covered under, like for instance in gender. Age is the same way. Whether you're 14 or 18, I can't discriminate against you based on age. Whether you're whatever age you pick, it's still not discrimination. I just can't say I'm disciplining you because of your age. Whether it's, like I said, 5 or 55, it doesn't matter what your age is or what you perceive your age is. It's all covered under non-discrimination. That's where it gets really just weird for me. So it's right not to discriminate against anybody no matter what. It's kind of where they're going here, but so it doesn't matter what side of the fence you're on, or what you perceive, or what you don't perceive, whatever it is, I just can't discriminate against you. So that's where I don't understand perception.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm just trying to get you in my head.
Yeah, I think they're just trying to include everything in the kitchen sink and in the don't discriminate against.
Yeah, let's check and bounce against, if we can tighten it up, and we'll bring it back. Okay. Excellent. Any other thoughts on these? Okay, excellent. Moving along here to our reports to the board. Carrie Strong is here this evening. Hello. Come on up.
Glad to see you guys. I'm surviving. I'm teaching. I'm having a great time. It's also Girl Scout cookie season, so it's bonkers at my house. But I'm here and I'm super happy to be here tonight. And I wanted to give a big shout out. Last week was National School Counselors Week, and we have some of the best school counselors in Lakeside. And they do incredible work. I know that Patty has given you like presentations on all the wonderful things they've done. Natalie's highlighted it in their LCAP. So you guys are aware, but the essence of those things are the relationships that they're building with kids that are making kids want to come to school. They're making that bond with that kid who has anxiety and they are so upset that their stomachs are not and they're sobbing all day and they can't learn, and they take that kid and in a relatively short amount of time make them so they can come to class and they can learn. Like, that's the magic of our school counselors, and I love watching the patience and the work that they do with our students, because it supports all of our teachers in the classroom to be able to get those kids there to do what they need to do. So the other thing is, I don't know if you've ever walked on our campuses with the school counselors, but I want to imagine that it's kind of like walking next to Taylor Swift if I ever got to do that, because the kids don't care about you at all. They just care about the school counselor and they're super excited about that person. And it's just really fun. They're magical people, and I'm so glad that we have them on all of our campuses at school. And so that's a big thank you, shout out to them. I also want to point out, Trustee Casper pointed out earlier, but March 3rd, Lakeside Touch Truck, we are going to have a booth there, so please stop by, say hello to us. Is the school bus with the slide going to be there? It's so cool. Have you guys seen it? It's so cool. And maybe you'll get to get on the slide and honk the horn. It's really fun. So please come. It's a great event. I also wanted to acknowledge our classified staff who spoke to you guys tonight. They're not in my bargaining unit, but they work directly with our teachers and in that special education infant program. And so from our teachers' standpoint, we kind of look at all of our, those classes and all of our special education classes, and it baffles us that that's not full-time work, because the work is there to do. And we know that all gets accounted for in the budgets and looking at all sorts of calculations that go into that. But we also don't have vacancies, and so when we look at it, we're like, we have vacancies in aides, but we're reducing hours. Like that's a conversation that our teachers tend to have around lunchroom tables on why is it like that. And so we also kind of, we don't think that there are people who don't want to do the work. These women who are here tonight clearly were passionate about their work, but what I just heard is that it's not enough hours to support their needs. And I guess sometimes maybe that is what it is, and maybe sometimes we have control over that as well. So I just kind of was thinking it was reflecting, tying that into all the other budget meetings that I've been sitting through the last few weeks, and I'm sure you have been as well, that, as leaders of our school district, when tightening of belts needs to happen, we have to make sure that we are making cuts as far away from kids as possible. That was a thought that was drilled into me in the early 2000s when we had some really rough budget times. And Lakeside did a great job of sheltering our students from those cuts. Our kids, we didn't cut our arts programs. They still had music and dance. They still had science labs and incredible opportunities to do. And I want to make sure that, I know our COLA is lower coming up this year, but then it looks like school services says it'll go up a little bit in the next few years. We wrote out some rough, much worse financial times with sheltering our students and keeping cuts away from our classrooms and our students. And so I just kind of hope that as a school board, you'll look to maintain that for our students and to benefit all of our school communities. I also wanted to say, and Natalie pointed out is in the LCAP, is that we've made huge growth in the last 3 years, I think. And some of it shows up in numbers and some of it just shows up in climate when you're walking around campuses. And that happens because of the people that are doing the work. It doesn't happen because a spreadsheet says so or because a computer was given to a kid. It happens because of the people doing that work. And so all of those growths, I just want to applaud everybody who worked hard to make all of that happen. And we want to continue that. And then I wanted to highlight one more quick thing. You may or may not hear coming up, LTA is rolling out a program with all of our members this month. It's called Member to Member. And it's our leg in, our kind of solution to try to help retain and address some of our staffing shortages and teacher burnout. It's a huge, very realistic issue that we're all experiencing in California. And so one of the things that we hear is that teachers, they don't feel supported. And no matter how much on paper we say, like, well, look at what we're doing this, for some reasons, new teachers, maybe they're not feeling prepared or supported in the way that they need the support. So we wrote a grant, and CTA funded our grant to do a member-to-member program where we can pair experienced LUSD teachers with new to LUSD teachers, just to kind of give them a buddy to bounce ideas off of, lesson plan ideas. It's kind of like what you might be doing with your team already, but kind of making it a little more purposeful and a lot less formal than, you know, a POC or a coaching or a TOSA type sort of experience, and really to focus more on the relationship of that, because one of the things that you hear when you talk about everybody who works here, they love working here because of the people they work with, because of the community they work with, that's the relationships. And so that was kind of like our red flag, like our not red flag, our light bulb at Lakeside or at the LTA. We're like, we need to help our new teachers build relationships with our current teachers. So if you hear our member-to-member program, that's what it is. And we're really excited to get it rolled out in the next couple weeks. So thanks. That's all I have for you tonight. Okay, thanks.
I don't see Dave, so we will move over to Lisa Davis.
Hey, just real quick, just a couple things. Update on the food service building back here. So 3 weeks prior to spring break and then over spring break. Christy's calling it March Madness. When she first said that to me, I was like, basketball? What's that have to do with? She goes, we're calling it March Madness because it's during March and that building's gonna be, that's its final phase. And super pleased with the general contractor who they're doing it in pieces so it doesn't impact the food service program so much. And super impressed with what they did over winter break. They got in, they were actually a couple days earlier than what they had projected, so we're anticipating that they're gonna get in those 3 weeks prior to spring break. It will be happening during school, it's just kind of how it's gonna have to happen, but the team over in food services has done a great job, and they're gonna take the central office clerical staff, they're gonna be back here in the business office conference room and working somewhat remotely, and then they'll still be doing a lot of the food stuff out of the TDS kitchen. They'll be able to do that, so it shouldn't really impact. Some of the meals may look a little different because they won't be as, you know, comprehensive or whatever as, but for those 3 weeks and then the 2 weeks while we're on spring break, and then they should be complete with that project. So super excited about that. But the kitchen remodel phasing should be done. Just want to say, happy to report the San Diego County Taxpayers Association finally released their bond transparency report, or their report card. All school districts had a weird dip last year. We came up to an A again, so now we're rated an A. And so just, however we're at the end of our bond program anyways, but we got an A. And then last Thursday and Friday, I attended the CBO forum. It's just for San Diego County CBOs. It's a very small, intimate group. It's really good. I don't think anybody else in the state of California does this in the CBO world. And it was really interesting, good information. We had Sandag, Naomi Young, their principal economist. She came and spoke to us, talked about just San Diego specifically, the economy and what, you know, the nuances and stuff of that. We had Ken Capon from the Legislative Analyst's Office. He came, gave us his interpretation of the governor's budget and what the LAO's office is opining on. And then the second day we had Kevin Gordon in the morning from Capital Advisory advisors group, and then John Gray from School Services and Mike Fine from Quick Math. They came in the afternoon and really had really great discussions about the governor's budget proposal for next year, what things may be looking like, what to expect, what to kind of prepare ourselves for. So I felt really good, maybe kind of not. It was depressing, but you know, just kind of keeping an upbeat attitude about things and just being proactive and you know, preserving our operations so that we can keep doing what we're doing without significant impacts. The COLA, they did, when we were there, COLA came out of the governor's budget at 0.76. There's 8 indicators, only 6 had came out at that point in time, so the 7th had just came out, so they did move that needle up to a 0.85, 0.86. They said it may, by the time that 8th indicator comes out in April. Possibly it'll bump up against a 1, if we're lucky, but we'll see how that happens. You know, they're using, in the subsequent years, the COLA goes back up a bit, around 3s. That's really just based on, they haven't done the 8 factors yet. So that's pure speculation is what they're saying. But it's what School Services uses from they definitely, have their own numbers that they think it would be, but they've always historically just used the Department of Finance's COLA number. So that's what that number is. And if any of us know, the Department of Finance has been overestimating a bit lately, so I don't see those out-year COLAs maintaining. So, that's it.
All right. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Dr. Winsberg.
Thank you. Super fast, because you've heard enough from me tonight. I just want to let you know that we had our district-wide professional development day on January 26th, and it was an awesome, productive day. We had everything from math transformations training for our teachers to science curriculum implementation. The middle school science teachers are still working on aligning and calibrating the new middle school science adoption. We had some training for middle school teachers on expeditionary learning, and then a lot of training for our special education teams, and our intervention teachers got to collaborate with our MTSS TOSAs. So a lot of awesome things happened that day. And then Dr. Taylor asked me to share with you from the week of February 5th through 9th, we had Festival of the Arts at Lindo Park, and the cooks made a cool video for us that Dr. Taylor asked me to share to close out the meeting this evening. So let me just get my little code.
Hi, and welcome to the Lakeside Festival of the Arts 2024. Festival of the Arts is an annual district-wide performance and art gallery that showcases all the students in Lakeside Union School District through performances, visual arts. The arts are so important for our students and our families and our community all around. So we love having this event where we can showcase all of the different talents and all of the hard work that our teachers are putting in as well with the kids to make sure that art isn't lost in our schools. So no matter where life leads our students, they will be better at anything that they choose to do because they have a background in the arts. We are so proud of these young artists, and we can't wait to see where life takes them.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything else before us this evening, colleagues? All right, meeting adjourned. Lisa, you want our things, right? Things, binders, whatever they're called.
She said she did the I'm sorry, okay.
Don't be sorry at all. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, Lisa, I'll do it, I promise.
Yeah, I'll check.
Well, when I found it out,
I know,
Hi, Aaron.
I didn't mind it. Yeah, I was.
Jason. Thank you.
It comes from your last.
How are you?
Way to stop me there, Mr. Bennett.
That's okay. That's what it's about. We'll figure this out. I
I
like
did
it.
kind of do a,
I'm like, really? I don't know.
That's okay.
No, I know, it's fine, it's a good question.
it was weird because I even like went back to some of the other ones, and it was the only one that had that in it.
I'll just make sure it's really, I'll go
We
back.
gotta cover everything,
I'll just make sure that the
every possible
original says that.
circumstance.
I'm just gonna start saying I'm a senior citizen.
That's right, you should.
You wanna join the
I'm
AARP?
153.
You should, man.
hey, you're getting close. Getting close.
I perceive myself to be no older than 24.
Folks, good night. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
We'll see you all later. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great evening. We'll see you all later.
All right, see you guys later.
Night. Yeah, tomorrow's Friday, yay.
Okay. Good night.
Good evening, what's left of it?
Yeah, I will. Thank you so much.